Well, hello, and thanks for watching another episode of ARFCOM News, your twice-weekly dose of the finest 2A propaganda. Hey, I want to start off today with a little gentle scolding. This slack-jawed control freak is Keith Ellison. He's the Minnesota Attorney General, and he was recently dragged on Twitter for saying a glizzy with a swizzy can shoot up to 1,200 rounds a minute. Look, folks, that actually is the approximate cyclic rate of a full-auto Glock. No, it is not the sustained firing rate. No, this dummy probably doesn't know the difference, but going full pedant on stuff like this or politically charged terms like salty weapons doesn't win the argument.
I use comparisons to Hitler to win arguments on the internet.
There are a lot of folks in the gun community who seem to think that if they can catch a control freak in a technical error, then they have somehow won the argument. Gun control solved.
Great argument, you win, boys. What?
Nothing could be further from the truth. Remember, you're not going to change the mind of a person like this. So the only purpose in engaging with them,
crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of their women,
is to persuade spectators. The second you indulge in pedantry, you have convinced an onlooker that you're some wacko gun nut and you have failed to address the real failings in the argument. But it would be impossible for us to produce quality 2A propaganda without sponsors, so before we get on to what should have been said, let's pay some bills. Today's video is sponsored by TNVC.com, your source for good old-fashioned all-American night vision just like Mom used to make.
See at nighttime. Nighttime seeing is important. Don't you want to see things? Seeing things is better. What's wrong with you? You don't want to see things. TNVC.
This tweet is related to the lawsuit Chicago filed against Glock, claiming it is somehow Glock's fault that people can modify the gun to fire full auto. Ellison posted because he's posturing to get involved in that suit if it looks like he can do so without risk. Right now, all he's doing is virtue signaling by telling Glock not to destroy evidence. There are two main strategies we could take in rebutting his claim. The first is to attack the premise that it is somehow Glock's fault that people unlawfully modify their products. Nobody sues Toyota because people install those stupid loud exhaust systems that sound like they're held together with baling wire and hope.
Tell me about the whistles.
The whistles got woo!
Whether or not they pass emissions. And the Glock design isn't uniquely capable of this sort of modification. Pretty near any semi-auto pistol can go full fast shooty. In fact, the fire control mechanism has to include a part called a disconnector to prevent it from firing more than one shot. To be sure, striker-fired pistols with an end plate like the Glock are easier to modify because the way the switch works is that a small piece extends into... Glock is simply a victim of their own popularity, and they shouldn't be held liable for the illegal actions of people who mostly aren't even allowed to own a gun. Suing them won't remove Glocks from circulation. It won't stop people from printing switches, and it won't round up all the violent criminals these same control freaks keep letting out of prison. All it will do is cost the taxpayer a ton of money when they inevitably lose. The other main argument that should be employed is to shift the Overton window and undermine Ellison's whole position in the first place that full-auto handguns are even something that can be banned. We believe the government has no authority to regulate any bearable arms. Glock ought to be able to sell their G18 in vending machines. Fight me.
I have spoken.
No, this isn't Drew Carey in drag. This is Kelly Breen. In addition to serving in the Michigan House of Representatives, she is also the stage boss Karen that you have to fight after you defeat all the other Karens in Michigan. She recently hosted a town meeting to advocate for the state to use gun violence against her peaceable neighbors. I mean, technically the stated goal was gun violence prevention, but all of their solutions involve state use of gun violence against peaceable people, so... Twitter user Avsterbone recorded the meeting and captured this gem.
The question I have is, what can be done to eradicate those guns? That's a good question, because really we can't.
I mean, at least they recognize the hopelessness of their position. Unfortunately, they are obstinately determined to continue with their disarmament agenda.
You're gonna die for some
gun rights.
Someone is.
They also seem to be utterly delusional.
Not taking your guns away. I would like to take all of the ghost guns away because there's no reason for them to be on the streets. There's legal ways to go through to get them.
What am I gonna do? Just all of a sudden just jump up and grind my feet on somebody's couch? Yeah, I remember grinding my feet on Eddie's couch.
So here we go again.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Afsterbone also ran into Jonathan Gold at the event, who is a paid consultant for Gifford's gun control, and he agreed to answer a few questions.
In the session, it seemed that you were opposed to privately manufactured firearms.
No, I'm opposed to unserialized ghost guns. I'm not opposed to privately manufactured firearms.
What is the difference between those?
Serialization.
Yes, why would they want it?
One reason and one reason only.
It's a great brainwashing process, which goes very slow.
Once again, we see the doublespeak and the focus on privately made firearms. Allow me to deconflict his statement. He's not saying he's okay with you building a gun so long as you engrave a number on it. What he's really saying is he believes all guns should be registered with the state so they can be confiscated later more easily.
Confiscated, confiscated, confiscated.
And these authoritarian police state enthusiasts just might get their way in Pennsylvania. House Bill 777 has passed the House and is on to the Senate, where the red team has a slight majority. HB 777 would ban the transfer of homemade gun kits like those sold by P80 and 80% Arms, and it would also ban 3D squirting of guns entirely. And by the language in the bill, it could even ban grip frames for guns that have modular fire control groups like the SIG P320. Now, I mentioned that the red team does have a slight majority in the Pennsylvania Senate, but only a fool would trust them to stop this. As the GOA's Pennsylvania director, Val Finnell, noted, 9 Republicans voted for universal registration checks and red flag gun confiscation orders in 2023. So, whatever you're doing right now, please take a moment to call the chair of the Senate Committee on Law and Justice, Mike Regan, at 717-787-8524, and tell him to stop HB 777. So the NRA just won an injunction protecting its members from prosecution by the ATF if they have a brace on a pistol. Yeah, I know, there are a bunch of people furiously typing in the comments right now.
Hold up.
Don't we already have a national injunction protecting all of us?
That is correct.
Yeah, so after the feds published the rule they made up reversing their own public policy for the 87th time, they were bombarded by lawsuits, and those suits had already produced injunctions protecting anyone who is a member of the GOA, or the FPC, or a member of Maximum Defense, or, well, literally any person in the USA. Last November, the Fifth Circuit found the ATF was likely to lose its case on the merits, and they issued an injunction protecting anyone in the US who has a brace on their pistol. It's like somebody showing up late to the kegger with a 6-pack of hard seltzer saying, "Y'all ready to party?" Or at least it would be if that somebody was like 90 and just the least fun person you've ever met in your life. So yeah, the boomer fuds at the NRA are real late to the party, but I guess it's cool they showed up. Stephen Gutowski at The Reload pointed out the Supremes haven't been fond of nationwide injunctions, so maybe this case does add some additional protection for NRA members that they didn't already have. I guess it really is important to keep all the pressure that we can on the government's lawyers, regardless of which direction it's coming from. What do you folks think? Does this NRA victory even matter? Do you care? Is it enough to get you to buy an NRA membership again? And now for your moment of Zen.
Move along.
Hey friends, do you like pews and other pew-related things? Would you like to help us keep delivering you pure, uncut American propaganda at a low, low price of free fitting? We literally couldn't pay the bills without our sponsors, so do us a solid and get yourself something nice from them. You deserve it. I love you.